Jonathan was on the show yesterday and he called it about watching Ty Dillon. Tanner, you said watch half the field crash out. Well, you got it correct. Now we know that NASCAR picked Atlanta to be the first race to have some chaos and upsets. But Tanner, did NASCAR ruin the bracket challenge for everyone?
Yeah, they kind of stomped all over it. Like, here's this great thing that we're adding to, zest up the summer stretch, and now we're going to be watching guys racing for 15th and 20th, trying to pick their way up to maybe have a chance to face Chase Elliott in the final. I think that the bracket challenge itself is a great idea, but starting it out on a drafting style racetrack was a painfully stupid and ill advised idea. And I don't know what made people think at the highest levels of NASCAR and motorsport that this would be a great idea. Um, I know that we just haven't really had an Atlanta race like this where we have this like massive, practically race altering crash early on. It usually comes towards the end of the event. I mean, you could even go back to the 24 spring race where we did have like a 25 car pileup on lap 2, but most of those cars were able to continue and didn't have like terminal damage. So, you even had guys like Daniel Suarez who ended up winning the race, be involved in that crash and be able to compete at the end of the event. Last night, that just wasn't going to happen. Like, I mean, obviously Brad Keselowski did find himself in that pileup, but like didn't seem to have any like visible damage of any kind. So yeah, as far as the outlook for the rest of the tournament, I kind of explained it earlier. We only have one driver that has won this year that is left in this tournament, and that one driver won the race last night. So I mean, that's not to say there aren't still some like very strong contenders left in this tournament. You still have people like Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace still in this tournament, but you also have like Ryan Preece, and you also have drivers like Brad Keselowski, who just hasn't really had a whole lot of speed this year at a variety of racetracks, still in this. And I just think that TNT put in a lot of money to not only, help advertise this tournament, and they're also spending money on Jeff Burton and Larry McReynolds to do an alt cast for each of the 5 races to, kind of singularly cover just the in-season tournament and the drivers remaining in it. And I kind of feel like all of that money that David Zaslav spent on promoting all of this just got lit on fire last night because we decided to start this whole thing at somewhere like Atlanta, EchoPark Speedway, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's a shame. I think that the best way to have done this would have been to have the very first race be on a 1.5 mile regular type of racetrack, a true intermediate, somewhere like Chicagoland, maybe. Maybe that's a little teaser for next year, but having it somewhere like a Kansas, somewhere like even a Texas would have been a better indication of who is actually strong in the series rather than having it at a track that is closer to a lottery ticket, to borrow from Denver yesterday, than something like a true intermediate like Kansas or Chicagoland. So I think if they're going to try to bring this back next year, you cannot start it here. Maybe for like the round of 8 for the third round, that would be fantastic because there's less drivers to focus on. But to start out the tournament with this, you just can't do that. It's like opening up the playoffs with Daytona. That would be moronic, and they should have thought about that before having Atlanta be this first race. But NASCAR's not really in the NASCAR's not really in the business of forethought.
I feel like this is one of those cases where you get an employee or a student that has a great idea. It's very popular. And then corporate or the administration is like, let's take that idea and make it better. And then they make it worse. And that's what I feel like really started to happen once this all started coming together. Because I felt like when it was the Denny Hamlin bracket challenge, you had tracks during the summer months where it was a span of like, I believe Darlington, Gateway, Sonoma, maybe Kansas. Tracks where during the summertime, after the Coca-Cola 600, it didn't exactly draw the biggest hype. But now you gave everyone a reason to really get excited about it. Something new, watch every race, print out a bracket, and be involved. Very straightforward, very fun. I get what NASCAR was thinking. We'll make it start off with a very intense race at EchoPark Speedway, Atlanta Motor Speedway. The problem is when you have something like this occurs and you take out just about everyone, well, if everyone's brackets is busted, who's really paying attention? I mean, the Ty Dillon fans, they're probably happy about what happened and they're going to be cheering Ty Dillon on, seeing how far he could get it forward. But the Denny Hamlin fans, the Kyle Larson fans, all the big names, they're not going to be talked about. Instead, we're talking about drivers that Noah Gragson dropped to 33rd in the points, lots of position in the stands, but he still is in it, advancing on to the next round. This is just one of those deals where I think NASCAR really needs to just reconsider what they did, and that is you cannot have Atlanta kick this off. Maybe you could have Atlanta in the round of 8, so that way if there is a big crash, you're talking about potentially 4 drivers being out of the tournament because of the crash. Not more than half, and everyone's bracket is pretty much busted up. This is just one of those deals where I think NASCAR really thought we're going to make it more crazy, more unpredictable. We're going to make it better. Even before we got to this, and there was the 5 races to determine the brackets, then it was frozen. You missed out on SVG. Granted, after his win in Mexico City, would he still get in if he was in top 32? I don't know, but I just feel like this has not gone right, and I think if NASCAR was to do this again, because I think it has potential. We saw the popularity in 2023, 2024. Here comes NASCAR. We'll make it better. Make it simple. The top 32 in points after one race. The next race, that's your seeding. 5 tracks. If you want to put Atlanta in there, make it the round of 8. That way you're not going to just ruin so many brackets in the first round. I just feel like they really just overcooked this idea, and at the end, the result is not a whole lot of people are going to be excited about this bracket much unless your driver, particularly Chase Elliott fans, who, of course, they would have picked Chase Elliott. He could go out there and get this. That would be the saving grace, I think, if he was to do this, because I don't think Ty Dillon winning this is going to be the most exciting way to end the bracket challenge.